and the rupee gains marginally in trade today after marking declines for 4 straight weeks. On your screens, 0.3% of a gain is what you have seen the currency on a closing basis there. There have been reports of dollar sales by corporates, and the strength in Asian currencies as well has been supportive. Let's get on board then. Nizam Idris, who's MD and Head of Strategy, Fixed Income and Currencies at Macquarie. He joins us on the show as well. Nizam, hi. How do you read the sharp slide in Chinese yuan that we have seen in the recent days, and where do you see it stopping? And also, what kind of an impact is yuan slide having on the other currencies?
Actually, the yuan has been weakening since end of last year, and for me, I think a lot of it is actually triggered by the PBOC. The PBOC basically do not like to encourage speculators, and so a lot of that weakening is actually engineered, right? And at current levels, it feels to me like the PBOC is pretty happy where it is right now. And PBOC has actually fixed the dollar CNY at around about stable levels lately, and it feels like probably the top end of that dollar CNY push is near. Now, however, I do not see dollar CNY reversing rapidly.
Nizam, we were just talking about monsoons, and there are some concerns building up on that. And apart from that, India is also facing elections. What do you see an impact of both these factors on the Indian currency?
If I were to look at recent comments from the RBI, for example, India is not concerned about the monsoon. Monsoon factors have been somewhat sidelined, taking a secondary factor, if you like, to the election. I think the election result is highly anticipated. I think a lot of people do expect Modi and BJP to come through. The question is by how much. And if we do follow, some of the polls that have been held before the election started, then, the market expects quite a decent outcome. And, Modi's model of reform is really based on getting rid of red tapes. It sounds very easy on paper, but I think to get it done practically, I think is a trick. So I think the short-term impetus for dollar INR is still for the downside on the election. I think implementation of reform will be the next stage of dollar INR move.
Well, yes, Nizam, we would be watching out for all of that. Thank you so much in the meanwhile for taking time out for us and breaking all of that for us. Let's also get on board Wwatch. She's economist at USA Bank, and she joins us with her expert take as well. Upasana, hi. As Nizam was pointing out, it's much about monsoon and Modi perhaps that the markets are watching out for. Today has been an exceptionally good day with nearly 0.4% of gain coming in for the rupee. But going forward, how would you want to read the cues?
Well, absolute near-term, Manisha, there's absolutely no doubt at all that markets would be closely watching out for the outcome of the elections. Definitely, what is being priced in is a sweeping victory for the BJP. And that is a slightly worrying situation because it will not really be as easy as it really sounds. Opinion polls are no great indicators in the past. They have often overshot or undershot their estimates for UPA or NDA. So going ahead, I think we will have to definitely, of course, wait for the results, the outcome. But if it is really not what the markets are anticipating, then we could be in for a very, very negative shock.
Upasana, how are you reading the international cues as well? Because the US Fed meeting would begin tomorrow. Ahead of that, we have seen the Asian currencies gain up while the US dollar index has declined.
I think there has been some kind of a geopolitical tension on the Ukraine-Russian front, which I think over the past 24 hours has receded slightly, with the Russian army receding from the Ukrainian border. So that has partly led to some kind of a risk on. At the same time, there is no surprise element expected from the FOMC meeting. So these two things taken together, coupled with some of the improved data prints that have been coming across the globe, has of course aided market sentiments. So overall, we are seeing risk on across Asian currencies, which is definitely reflected in the Indian currency as well today.
Upasana, so what is your sense going forward then? Because of course elections is one thing, there are no comforting news coming in from monsoon as well. And if you look at various comments that seem to be coming in, the RBI also seems quite stretched right now. How would you look at the rupee going forward?
Near term, again, it's this binary event is going to be the key deciding factor, which will actually result in whatever the trajectory of INR would be. But assuming that it is in favor of what markets are anticipating at the moment, I think we could possibly see sharp appreciation. Sharp as in to a limit that briefly we could see breaching of 58 levels. But I believe RBI would be very, very vigilant and would be willing to buy more and more dollars to prevent too much of volatility in the markets. So on the downside, I do see rupee possibly move towards dollar rupee move towards 58 levels. However, very brief should be the outcome. After which, I think we will gradually move towards a 61 kind of a range, 60, 61 for some time to go. Once the markets have settled down to the post-election outcome, I think then the focus would gradually shift towards other factors. Till October, we would see, September, October, I think a 60, 62 is a band broadly that I'm looking at.
Fine. Vijay, getting you in the conversation as well. What's your sense now? Because for the last 3 sessions now, the Indian equity markets have not been performing so well. But even then, the rupee has seen a turnaround.
Manisha, the rupee is likely to remain fairly tightly ranged. And that view of mine remains constant. I think 60.20 in the prompt month currency derivative segment futures on the NSE is what I would look at as the maximum appreciation scope for the rupee. Where the dollar appreciation is concerned, 61.10 to maybe 61.20 is what I would look at. So you're likely to remain constrained within this 1 rupee odd band, and the bias is more towards buying the declines on the dollar rather than going short on the dollar right now.
Vijay, also, how are you looking at the dollar index itself? Because it continues to hold below 80. Is that how you see it going forward?
Manisha, 79.35 to 79.40 is a support on the USD index. Unless that is breached and breached very convincingly and forcefully, I would say that it's likely to remain range between 79.35 on the downside and probably 80.10 on the upside. Here again, my bias is towards going long on the dollar whenever the dollar index goes towards the 79.35 or 40 levels.